So this is going to be a little tutorial on the bent press. If you're not familiar with the bent press, it is a very cool, old school, old-time strongman exercise that involves pressing a weight overhead by sort of corkscrewing underneath the weight. Now the bent press is cool because it allows you to put a lot more weight overhead than you might be able to with a strict press. My pressing is my weak point. I cannot even press 100 pounds overhead, and with one arm, just strict pressing. And my best bent press right now is somewhere around 145 pounds. So you can take quite a bit more weight and put it overhead this way. So that we're on the same page, I'm gonna show you what a heavy bent press kind of looks like, and then we're gonna break it apart and show you some of the steps to learn it. So this is what it looks like. So that's 110 pounds, quite a bit more than I can strict press otherwise. So now let's take it apart and kind of explain how that you can learn this movement. As you can see, it's sort of a corkscrewing movement where you're actually moving underneath the weight rather than pressing the weight away from you. This requires quite a bit of external rotation of the shoulder. So for example, if you can't get your hand past the plane of your shoulder in this position, you're going to have a really hard time bent pressing, and you're going to want to work on that first. Okay? The other thing is you're going to need a little bit of hip mobility to be able to get down into that position. It's not quite as requiring mobility as like a complete overhead squat, but if you can do this, even with a little bit of rotation, you should be in a pretty good position. So, a few points on the bent press. Forearm stays vertical. If you can keep your forearm vertical the entire time as you move away from the weight, there's actually nothing else that you have to do, and you've got a perfect bent press. But that gets a little tricky. That's the crux of it right there, right? So forearm vertical is one thing, pushing back on it is the other. So the starting position is going to be kind of like a side press. Your upper arm is going to be attached to your lat, and the forearm is going to be vertical. That's the starting position. From there, you're going to push and rotate away, keeping the upper arm attached to the lat the whole time and straightening the arm out. When you reach about 5, 6, or 7/8 of the movement, it's just a matter of locking out the elbow and extending. One way that I teach people to do this is to go up against the wall, put the weight on the wall, and then press away from it until it's all the way overhead. If you do that and you keep the weight attached to the wall the whole time, that'll help kind of train that position. Another thing is the kettlebell works really well for this because the kettlebell naturally pulls you into that external rotation that you need for the bent press. So with a dumbbell, or like the circus dumbbell, the weight is centered over your hand, and you need to actively push it away. With the kettlebell, I can basically let it pull my arm, and I'm sort of just exaggerating this position, and as I bend away underneath it, it's almost bent pressing itself. Takes a lot of practice, kind of figuring out how this movement goes. One of the things that I really like about it is that there's no such thing as perfect form with the bent press. You have to figure out what works for you. This is one of those exercises where sometimes a little bit more weight is a good teaching tool. For example, if you know that you can press a 24 kilo bell, but you can't press a 32 kilo bell, it might be worth working on your technique with the 24, but then testing yourself against that 32. Because if you're bent pressing correctly, you should be able to do more weight than you can with a strict press. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments.